gonna bring this young lady up, and she's gonna talk about her testimony. I guarantee her testimony will test a lot of folks.
Amen.
Ms. Jackson.
Good evening. I am really honored to be here. This is my first speaking engagement, so please bear with me. But I'm Jackie's mom. My name is Jeanette, and I just want to share my testimony. You know, I'm going to tell you about my life. The first question I get, and the first question is probably on all of y'all minds, is what happened? Why are you like this? Well, again, I'm Jackie's mom. In 1986, July 22nd, which happens to be his birthday, I was on my way to work. Normal day, I had a 2-year-old. My life is all, let me back up just for a minute and start off. My life started early for me. I was pregnant when I was 16. Back in the 80s, you couldn't go to school. You had to go to a maternity school. So that's how it started off. I've been working since I was 15 years old. I've always kept a job. At the time when I was pregnant with Jackie, I needed the job. I needed the job quickly. KU was a hard hospital to get on at that time, but I got a job cleaning the parking lot. That parking lot across from the main garage, that's where I used to work. I would pick up all the trash. I'd stand there. I looked like a little boy. I was 5'2", and I wore a mechanic's coverall outfit, hat. You would have thought I was a little boy working out in the garage. But soon I started showing. Now in the 80s, things were quite different. We were just now getting into, women were really expressing their rights then, especially about being pregnant and still being able to keep their jobs and everything. So I was kind of a part of history because back then, I knew they couldn't fire me. One thing about me, I knew my rights, so I knew they couldn't fire me. So I immediately started going up to personnel, started looking for different jobs. A lady was there and she said, "Hey, why don't you try for a dispatcher?" Dispatcher, I just want a housekeeping job, dietary, I hadn't even dropped out of high school. When I got pregnant, like I said, I was really pregnant at 15, I gave birth at 16, but I had dropped out of school. I was working 2 jobs. I've always been a worker. I lied about my age, of course, but I was working again. By the time this is kind of going a little forward, but the starting is I did start off cleaning the parking lot, but eventually I ended up working 2 jobs as well, cleaning up and not cleaning up, but I was a file clerk and I worked at the IRS. But anyway, back to the original story. As I said, I was on my way to work one day, so I became a dispatcher, got that job. The lady had, kind of coaxed me into it, and who would have thought that they would actually call me? They actually called back. That was my first job. I applied for dietary and housekeeping, but that job kind of called me. So that was my start in the career of being a dispatcher, a police dispatcher. Eventually, I was on my way to work one day. On that day, on July 22nd, I was hit by a Metro bus. The bus hit from the passenger side. At the time of the accident, I was 7 months pregnant. I had my 2-year-old in the back seat. Show you how God works, because I'm a creature of habit. If I do something, if I go a certain way home, that's the way I go. If I'm like I said, I do the same thing. That's kind of my peace of mind. But on that particular day, I'm always strapped to my daughter in the back seat on the passenger side. That was always my routine. But this particular day, I didn't do it. She was kind of, she was only 2. She was kind of antsy. She hadn't had a lot of sleep. I hadn't had a lot of sleep. So I just said, forget it. I broke my pattern and strapped her in the back seat on the driver's side. Actually, that's what saved her life. Now, this accident, I don't remember. I don't know. I think Jackie may have told me, he may have showed you guys a picture of the car at one time, but it was really bad. I was unconscious. The night of the accident, I had several surgeries, one being an emergency C-section to save his life. I didn't even see Jackie until he was a month old. I was 18 at the time of the accident. If you would have told me a couple of months ago before this accident that I was going to be in a wheelchair and I was going to have to raise 2 kids from a wheelchair, I told you, no, I don't want no part of that. That's not my life. I can't live like that. That's not quality of living for me. But you never know what you can do when you're faced in that situation. And for me, my 2 kids were everything. That's what motivated me. I came up I came up poor. I think all of us, I don't know if anybody's rich here, but I know I came up poor, and I came up in the hood. My mother's house was kind of a party house. You had all the drunks, the alcoholics, the drug addicts, everybody was at my mother's house. I was determined, that was one of the reasons. At 16, I got my own apartment. Like I said, I had my daughter, and I got my own place. And that's kind of, I never went back home. I've been on my own since I was 16 years old. I didn't even think I was going to graduate. I got lucky though, because what had happened was, even though throughout this tumultuous time, because it was, dropping out of school, I already had a kid, now I'm getting pregnant again. During that time though, when before I got pregnant with Junior, I was still keeping up with my work, at school, barely, because I wasn't even there. But God is good. Once again, He came and intervened in my life. I had enough credits to graduate. So there it is. I was really happy with that. So one of the classes that I took in school was typing. If I hadn't took typing in the 80s, I wouldn't be where I was, because that was a class nobody cared about, but that's what gave me my career. I could type, and I could type pretty fast. So that started my career off. But jumping a little forward here, raising 2 kids from a wheelchair was very, very hard. When I came home at 19 with 2 kids and a wheel, I'm going to even take it back to therapy. I mean, when I was in therapy, it was hard. I was being told I had so many things going on in my life. My mother told me there's no way you can raise 2 kids in a wheelchair. She did not like Junior's father at the time. That was a big thing that was going on. My mother didn't like him. So I had a hard time. I mean, she would come up to the hospital, she would upset me. It got to a point to where the hospital security told my mother she couldn't come up anymore. She just kept telling me what I couldn't do. But that incident made me stronger, because I was determined to prove her wrong. And I worked hard. When I was in therapy, I used to have to wheel up a hill in my manual wheelchair with weights on the side of my wheels. We used to create little stories lines, the therapist did. What if you had Jackie and you had to wheel up hill with a bag of groceries? I'm like, oh, that ain't happening. I don't know what y'all talking about, but that ain't happening with me, but I thank God for that, because it taught me to be strong. Moving a little bit forward, I was married for 14 years. It wasn't a good marriage. I'm not going to go into that, because hopefully I'll write a book and it'll be deeper. I can go deeper into that. But the marriage did teach me something, because it taught me how to be strong and how to rely on myself. One of the first things about having a disability is people don't, the only thing, let me go back. The only thing I knew about disabilities at the time was I seen older people. I seen old people in wheelchairs. I never seen nobody like me in a wheelchair, driving, cooking, cleaning, and doing everything I was doing. So that, like I said, that lifestyle was new to me. And then being in a marriage, even though I got a disability, everyday life is going on. You're in relationships, they're not going good. You got 2 kids, you're trying to do that. So it was really hard. But like I say, being in a relationship to where there's problems, it does make you strong. The first year of being in this wheelchair, I was my first year being in a wheelchair, I was at home with my kids, so I was a stay-at-home mom, which was not me. I hate to say it, that's not who I am. I've always been a worker. As you see, when I first started my story, I told you I've been working since I was 15. So I went back to work, and I had to prove every job I've ever been at. I had to prove, because I'm in a wheelchair, I had to work extra hard because of the able-bodied people. I had to show them that I can keep up. I'm just as good. I'm just as fast. I can do this job. So I've always had to prove myself, always. There were some days when I first started at the sheriff's department. I'll never forget, I filled out an application because I worked at KU after the accident. I never thought I'd be able to get back in the law enforcement. I didn't even see that in my cards for me. But luckily, once again, God has always had a way for me. I went to the sheriff's department, Wyandotte County Sheriff's Department, filled out an application. Never in my wildest dreams thought they would call me back. They called me back. They gave me an interview. I'm thinking, okay, they're being nice to me, I'm in a wheelchair, But then they ended up calling me back. I'm like, what? Wait a minute. Now I'm working at the sheriff's department. And man, I love that job. Now, the Wyandotte County, we ended up becoming the unified government in 1991, 1992. I worked at the sheriff's department from 1988 until 1992. So in 1992, when I ended up going to the Kids Against the Police Department, that was a different world. It was very busy. The sheriff at the time, back in the 80s, the only thing that the sheriff covered back then was Piper, Bonner Springs, and Edwardsville. So I had a cheese job. So all that weight, we used to sit up and cook and watch movies. Now here I am at work, even had nerve enough to get mad when they called in and want to run the tag. What you want? Come on, because, this was a cheese job working at the sheriff's department. When I went to the city, oh man, it was a whole different world because it's busy. You're running tags, you're running people, you're on top of your game, you got pursuits, you got barricaded subjects. I'm dealing with a whole, forte of different things. So I really thought I can't do this job. I was struggling because I wasn't used to working at that kind of pace. And I would go home, I would cry. I would literally cry. But at that time, my husband, he was very sick at that time. He couldn't work, so everything was on me, in a wheelchair. Everything was on me. I cooked, I cleaned, I had 2 kids. I didn't, it was rough, but I had to make it work because who else was gonna do it? What was they gonna do? I went to work and I worked at their job with the combined years, what they did when I retired. They took all my years and combined, I had 24 years of service. And I worked the job and I showed those people I could do that. I won an award for 911 for a call that I had. This call happened at being, I'll never forget, this is my first major call that I was supervisor this night. And don't everything happen to you when you don't know what you're doing, but I happened to have been supervisor this night and got a call that some kids, it was a house fire in Bonner Springs. Kids were inside the house, ages 7, 5, and I think the youngest was 4. And the house was fully engulfed. Now I had the kids on, I had the 7-year-old on the phone. And I asked them, I said, hey, can y'all jump? Do you feel comfortable jumping? You think you can do that with your brothers and sisters? Is it too far down? And they're like, no, we're scared, they're screaming. Now this fire is just really going on. Like you said, I asked him, is the door, he said, we can see the flames coming under the door. I told him I got fire en route, just stay on the line with me. But of course the line did, so that was over. Unfortunately, these kids burned to their death. They all died. That was a hard call for me, and the media was calling, and I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew my supervisor said, do not talk to the press, do not say anything. And that was a day of reckoning, but that's the day when I really appreciated it. I couldn't believe, here I am, I'm in a position, I'm doing a job that I never thought I would be able to do. And I did it with flying colors. That night was one of the busiest nights I had ever worked, but I handled that situation, and Lord knows I had made way many more calls after that. I've seen way many more deaths. I've had people on the phone get shot while I'm talking to them. I've witnessed a lot of things, and all of those experiences just made me appreciate more of my life, because I never thought that I would be doing a job that I loved. When I worked at KU, it was such a difference. I never even saw myself being a dispatcher. But when I actually got into the job and started doing it, man, I fell in love with it. It was just something that I loved. I love the fact that I can help people. But going back to that job again, that job was something else. Now I'm telling y'all the good part, the part of what you see on TV, the saving lives, the calls, but just like any job, it has its problems. That you would think the Kansas Police Department, a professional, a place where we're having to help people in, emergency situations. No, we had a lot of bickering. We had a lot of women that were bitter, they bicker, they talk about, just like in any of y'all jobs now. The same thing going on, just different year, different time. People talking about each other, that kind of thing. And I worked with a lot of, just a lot of petty women. And one particular, I was new at the city, I coded a call wrong, and lady just kind of got smart with me. She's talking to me like I'm, like I'm beneath her and like I'm a child. And one thing about me, now I've always had a tough persona, and you ain't gonna come to me any kind of way now. See, they were prepared. I wasn't what people expected in a wheelchair. They weren't prepared for me. They weren't prepared for a person that knew how to stand up, a person that knew how to talk, a person that knew how to get her point across, and also a person, like I say, I can be under the extreme most amount of stress, but I can do that job. And see, that's what I was always underestimated. Even when I first went to the city, I know they had a big meeting and it felt so weird. They had a meeting about me. Now, you think she's gonna be, you know what I mean? There's never been, I'm the only person. I broke a lot of glass ceilings. I'm the only person that's ever been in that job, in a wheelchair, to do that job. They've never hired anybody else, so I hold that. I hold that championship. Like I said, God, the things that I've been through, I can't even, I've been through so much as far as being in a wheelchair. I've had a time where I didn't have a car. Had to catch the bus. Thank God the metros, I was being in this wheelchair in 1986, the metros weren't equipped with handicap ramps for people like me. So soon as they got that, I remember participating in a march, downtown to get this law passed to get the buses equipped. So I was a part of all that. Then who would have known in my lifetime I would have had to ride the bus, but I did. I didn't let anything stop me. And the reason I'm here tonight sharing this with you, you guys are young people, and I want to let you know, because sometimes things can happen. As we're sitting here now, God forbid, I don't want anything to happen to any of y'all, but your life can change at the drop of a hat. We can change. And no matter what happens to you, you can do it. You don't ever. Because if I would have let so many people tell me, oh no, you can't do that. No, you shouldn't do that. No, you need to do that. If I would have listened to those people, I would be sitting in a nursing home. I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I wouldn't have been able to raise 2 kids. I'm gonna even go into that just a little bit quick. 2 kids, I'm going to share because I got to embarrass Jackie a little bit. I'm here. Why not have a little fun, right? This is a good story because, like I said, how did you do that? Now, how did I do it? I didn't have any help. At that time, I was estranged from my mother, as I explained. When I was in the hospital, it was a big deal. Like I say, security was back and forth from my mom. Because she was determined. My mother really wanted control of my situation due to the fact because she felt like she could get money off my kids and she could get money from me. Now, don't get me wrong, I love her, but you got to be honest about the way people are, and that's just was one of her bad traits, And at the time, as a mother, she probably thought she was doing the right thing for me. Oh, you really? And in her mind, she felt I couldn't do it, But even with all of that going on, I did it. It was really hard at the time when Junior started crawling. Now, when he was a baby, that was fine. I could do everything. But when he started crawling, man, at that time I didn't need a manual chair. I didn't need this. I didn't get this until they were teenagers. I didn't get to be inside. I was in a manual chair for years. And every time it seemed like the phone would ring, the kid would crawl right up under. I couldn't get to the phone, or somebody would come to the door and he's right up under me. I'm like, oh my God, And I had to figure out something, especially cooking. My main thing is Jackie would come into the kitchen. He would crawl into the kitchen. I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't even know what I'm doing. I can't have this kid in the kitchen. So I got a water gun. And I started shooting with the water gun, actually. But it worked. I know this sounds kind of abusive, but it worked because I needed it out in the kitchen, and it really worked. But then the kid got immune to the water gun. So I had to buy one of those submachine water guns. And that did it right there. I was going to make my day. I came out like Clint Eastwood. I wouldn't play it. So I kind of started enjoying it. I wish it would have worked for a 2-year-old, but you can't get everything. Like I said, I've just been through some challenging times. And see, unfortunately, my kids don't know what I was like when I was walking. They have no memory of me being able-bodied and walking. This is what they remember. Take it back now, I did have legs, of course, when the accident happened. And as soon as I got used to my situation and started accepting, it took a long time for me to love myself. It really did. It took a long time. I've never been fat in my life, and I started gaining weight. When you're sitting down, man, you're saying, no, I don't sit up and eat holes and ding dongs, because that's what most people think, but you're fat, you sit up and eat all day. No. When you're in a wheelchair and you're not getting the proper exercise, and this is on me, this is something that I'm working on now, because again, it took a long time for me to love myself like this. And see, that's the key to everything. Love yourself, because when you love yourself, you won't allow yourself to go through a lot of things. And see, that's the key thing. A lot of us don't love ourselves for the way we are. But it just as soon as I started loving myself, buying these clothes, looking right, doing me, go to the doctor and they tell me, hey, because my legs weren't getting circulation. At this point, they were turning black. And my doctor said, you know what's going to happen, don't you? You got to have these amputated. I said, yes. And he said, I want you to talk to the nurse and we're going to get the first amputation set up. And I said, okay. And I smiled and I didn't go back. I didn't go back for 2 years. I'm like, oh, no, y'all crazy. I didn't go back. But people seem to think I've been diagnosed as a T4 paraplegic, which simply means usually it's from the chest down, paralysis. But with me, and they're finding this out even now, that in the 80s, they just didn't have the technology and knowledge that they have today. But had I had the accident today, I'd probably be up walking. In the 80s, I had a lot of swelling, and instead of letting the swelling go down and see what would have happened, they did emergency surgery. I had 2 back surgeries. I have Harrington rods in my back, so makes me a little bit different. And these rods now are outdated, so they don't even use these rods anymore. But it has been a struggle. Health-wise, that was one of the reasons why I had to take what they call a medical retirement. My health started getting so bad, I started going down. I've had probably over 40-something surgeries done since this accident has happened. I've been on death's door a lot. Here in just 2022, I almost died. Now, every time I've been on death's door, I'm usually a little out of it. I don't know what's going on, or, by that time, I'm really sick, so I'm not aware of what's going on. But in 2022, this is why, let me go back. I kind of skipped over. So in 2009, I ended up going back, as you see, and I had the amputation. Like I said, I didn't go back for 2 years, but I did eventually go back because I had to. The pain got to me. I couldn't take it. 2022, when I almost died, I had a hole in the back of my, I call it a little leg, but in the back of my little leg, that big, and it was deep, and it was all the way down to my bone. And I was highly alert. I fought with KU and trying to get them to help me, hospitalize me sooner because I knew I needed help. They did not do that, but neither here or there. When I did go in the hospital and they seen how deep this wound was, everything got serious. And I'm completely alert talking to them. And I know the doctor didn't mean for me to hear this, but he said, get in touch with her family. She's not going to make it through surgery. And I thought, oh my God, this is it. This is really the end, And I'm alert to know what's going on now. And I just thought, wow, I'm not going to wake up with this. And I wish I had my camera, because there's a picture of Jackie actually talking to the doctor. And you see the look on his face when they showed him the size of the wound, being that big. But I woke up. God ain't through with me yet. You see, He used me for years. I used to ask, and don't get this down, let me explain my spiritual journey. The spiritual journey was even worse. The first 2 years of being in a wheelchair, been in this wheelchair for 38 years. The first 2 years, I thought, God, you find God, quit God. Don't get me wrong. I was raised with God. I went to church on Easter. And I went to church maybe on Sunday, but that was as far as my spiritual thing went, But when you are in a position, oh, baby, you gonna call on God, but hey, God, look, remember me? And I was calling God, I didn't know what to do. 2 years went by, 5 years goes by. Everybody's telling me, well, it's your faith. You don't believe. That's why you're not healed. If your faith ain't right. 10 years goes by. Now, during this time, I'm mad at God. I don't believe in God anymore. That's how I felt. F God. That's really how I felt. Because I felt like, why did this happen to me? I wasn't a bad person. I didn't go out doing bad things to people. Why did this happen to me? I thought I was one of the coolest, kindest persons ever. But see, that's not the reason. See, 10 years went by, 15 years. Now I just gave up. And then you gotta understand, I'm depressed. During all this, I didn't show my depression because I had a 2-year-old and a newborn. As time went on and they're growing up, going to school, I didn't really have time. I'm working too, so I didn't have time to really be depressed. But I was depressed because it's in your actions. It's not so much about what you say, it's about what you do, and people can pick up on it. Not taking care of yourself the way you should, not following up with illnesses the way I should, so I made my situation a lot worse. So, this is, I have to take responsibility for what I did in this. But again, they ended up having to, in 2022, they ended up having to take the other little stump off, and man, that just threw me for a loop because even when I had my legs amputated, I had to get used to a new look. If I just learned how to love myself, being in a wheelchair years ago with legs, now you're taking me to a whole nother level, a whole new look. How am I supposed to do this? It took me a long time. Actually, 38 years in this wheelchair, 22 of those years I spent depressed. I spent very depressed. But nobody, I had to put on the front, I had to put on a face for everybody. But soon that face cracks. I attempted suicide 4 times. One time I put a gun up to my head and I just knew this is it. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I can't live this way anymore. My kids would be better off with somebody else. But let me tell you, when God ain't ready for you, you ain't going. The bullet jail. The bullet jail. I couldn't believe it. One time I got so drunk and high, drove my car, and I thought, I don't care. I don't care if I go in this lake, Wyandotte Lake or not. God wasn't having that. He had to use my good sense then because, I'm scared of water. So, and like I said, I'm going to have to think of a different way than this. But the bottom line is, it wasn't my time. I took pills. I even tried that, had my stomach pumped. It wasn't my time. And see, I kept asking God throughout those 22 years, why me? Why me? That was my question. But 22 long years. And you know what? I finally got an answer. And the answer was simple, because God is simple. We make stuff hard. Why not you? Why not you? What makes you better than anybody else sitting in this room that it could have happened to? What makes me better than anybody in this world that it could have happened to? So nothing. Why not me? And if it is me, then you make the best of what you got. You use what you have. You do what you have to do and you keep living. And I thank God because now my son is 38. My oldest daughter is 40. I call her, she's still my daughter, but I say my adopted daughter, my boyfriend, his daughter, love her to death. She's 37. I mean, I'm still here. And I did it. I drive. You ought to see. And I can't, as a woman in a wheelchair, I'm telling you, I kept a nice car. She always drove something nice. That was another thing about me. I had a Mazda 929. They don't even make a 929 no more. That sucker was clean. The CCW had a Nissan Maxima. Oh, I kept a clean car. And to this day, right now, I drive a Dodge. I drive a Dodge Caravan. And it is very clean. And everywhere I go, I get looks. People are like, wait a minute, and I used to see nobody like me. I go to the grocery store, I do anything and everything I want to do. And I thank God, because without God, I wouldn't be here. And I thank God, see, sometimes we have to really get the wisdom, we have to really get the understanding and the meaning and the purpose of why we're here. Sometimes, and I really felt like I didn't have a purpose. But even sitting here talking to you tonight, sharing my story, no, it wasn't organized the way I wanted it to be. I kind of jumped from subject to subject, but I thank God that y'all bear with me again. It's my first time. But I think, God, if it wasn't, like I say, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. I've been through so much as a woman in a wheelchair. I've been stranded on the road. I remember when we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have cell phones. I was stranded on I-70. Had to make this, thank God I had a piece of paper. And I kept a marker because of my job in my purse. I was able to write help. Somebody saw the sign and must have stopped at a different location and called for me because cell phones were just coming out then. So it's not one, I know one time when Jackie was working for you, just got on the Nebraska furniture park. My dog got tangled up in the yard. I went out to get the dog untangled. Ended up my chair, and I was in the power chair, tipped over. There was a hill, it was an incline going straight down to these other people's house. So I'm down the hill, my wheelchair is tipped over. It took me 2.5 hours. I scooted back up to that house. Back then I smoked cigarettes, so I'm on the floor smoking. Judy wakes up, what is going on? What are you doing? I'm like, look, just go get the wheelchair. It's down the hill down there, and put me back in the chair. Thank God he lifts weight. So that made it easier, but it's pretty much nothing I haven't been through. And God has shown me through each one of those experiences. There is nothing that I cannot do, nothing. And there's nothing you can't do. So when you're faced with a trial, a situation, or even if you have a loved one, or God forbid something happens to you. Because again, at 18, like I said, I thought I was invincible. I didn't see this in my life. I see y'all pretty young women out here. I was pretty back then. I was skinny. I had it going on. I felt like I could get any guy I wanted to. And sometimes your own vanity, though, can be, we got to watch that too, And back then, God had to show me who I really was. Though. See, I'm telling you who I thought I was. But for real, I had a temper. I did, I was ready. I was quick to fight. I wasn't, and that's not, and that could have landed me in prison. I think God, I feel like I'm in this chair for a reason because God had to slow me down. I could have had 2 kids and ended up being in prison. My temper is still something I'm working on because I is a nice person. I smile a lot, but I do, I got to work on that. That's something I'm working on. But back then, oh man, I was quick to, as they say, I was quick to give you a beat down, if you came my way. But God had to take me out of that type of thing. And when you're in a wheelchair and you have a disability, you learn there's so much more. And I'm so glad I don't think like that anymore. I'm so glad that God is disciplining my thoughts. But there's nothing that you can't do. And in my conclusion, I do want to share one more story with you. I don't want to get too going on that. But during this time in 2022, so much happened. Lost my other little leg, as I described, and now it's taken me 2 years. I've went 2 years without having a mirror. I just recently purchased a full mirror because I didn't want to see myself like this. Now I'm at a new stage. I got to get used to looking like this. But that's okay because God taught me one thing. I learned how to love myself. And I knew it was time for me to buy a mirror again. It's been 2 years. It's time to get back to who you are. Look at yourself, the weight, the little leg, everything, and say, hey, you look good. I love you. And that's what I've done. But I do want to give a shout out to my niece, this young lady, Nicole. All my hair fell out. I've always, one thing about me, still kind of short to me because growing up as a kid, I've had extremely long hair. My hair was my pride. You know what I mean? Everybody in my family knows me by my long hair. So no matter if I was fat or I got long hair, it's fine. I got weight. As I used to say, good hair. I don't know. Good hair is taking care of your hair. But, back then, you was under the false belief you had this good hair, thing going. So in 2022, I had a total of 13 surgeries between 2022 and 2023. 2024, this is my first year with no surgeries. Last year, I had 3 surgeries. Before that, I had at least, I must have 11, so I had at least have 8 surgeries in 2022. So, and these were back-to-back surgeries because they could not get, every time they thought they had this part sewed up, it would come apart. So it was really miserable. I had to lay in a bed for 30 days. Can't get up, all you can do is just lay in this bed. And that's a mental thing. Don't get me wrong, I had them giving me all kind of drugs. Oxycodone, give it all to me. Y'all gonna have me laying in this bed for 30 days. But it's truly a mental thing. It was a mental thing. And God works with your spirit. When you are incapacitated and you can't do anything, that's when God truly works with your spirit. And like I said, there's nothing you can't do. The reason why I'm even sharing my story is I believe as human beings, that's what we're supposed to do. Because when we share our stories, we give each other strength. We give each other motivation. Your story, your story, your story, your story. I mean, you don't know when you talking to somebody, you don't know how that affects them. You don't know what they've been through, what they are going through. When you see somebody that looks like me, you're like, oh my God. And the first thing is, because if I seen you, I'd be the same way. Oh, I don't want to be like that, But understand, we live in a world, and y'all all know, y'all got friends that have died, passed away, and people that gotten killed, people that died from illnesses. So we all know that we are subjectable to anything. Anything can happen to us. But the main thing you gotta know is don't ever, ever, ever let nobody tell you what you can't do. Because I'm living proof it can be done. And I just want to take the time out. I also want to point out another special person in this room. I call her Nisha, I'm gonna call her right. She's another Nicole in my life. And she has been a really bright spot. And there she is. And thank you so much, young lady. I really love and appreciate you. But thank you all. I'm not gonna keep you any longer. I just wanted to share my story. I am in the process of trying to write a book. I didn't even finish. See, I'm going all over the place, but I do want to point out my niece, Nicole, too. Nicole got my hair growing. This is all her work. I was completely bald here. Lost all my hair. I mean that. Strands. I had my daughter had put, what do you call those crochet braids in? All I did, my whole hair, it all came out. The braid, the hair that was connected to it, I was bald. I was at the lowest of the low. I thought, I can't come back. Because I was feeling so bad. That young lady right there is creating an oil. She's not ready to put it out yet, but when it does come out, I really am going to put it out. I'm encouraging you. I as a person, I don't support things that don't work. This is the first product I've ever bought, and it really, really works. I'm living proof. Look at my hair for 2 years, and I had strands. So, and going back to her, I've skipped around, but these two people have been instrumental in my life. I want to thank Nicole, and I want to thank this Nicole, and I want to thank y'all for putting up with me going all over the place. Thank you.
Give it up. So, right there with the
Are the cameras still rolling? Are the cameras still rolling?
We can get it, well.
Okay, well, don't be telling people you done bought some hair oil. You know your money no good.
Well, you know what? Look. I'm just letting them know it's good. It's worth the money, baby. It's right.
Okay.
It is.
Can we give you a hug?
Of course.
Let's do one thing, this is what you do.
Love.
Clap it up, everybody, come on. That's a testimony. Do that.
I'm nobody special, but I'm just sharing
Yes, you
a
are.
story.
Yes, you are.
I'm just sharing a story of my life, what happened, man. And I raised 2 kids. I really did it by myself because my ex-husband, like I said, we all been in bad relationships. And I'm not gonna talk about, my son's father in a negative way. We was just two good people that worked good for each other, basically. But it taught me something, and it taught me how to be strong, and I know how to survive by myself. So.
Clap, everybody, let's get a picture with it together, come on. Everybody.
Yeah, it's so sweet.
So we're 20. Are you talking about her in the pink? Yeah.
Oh, this is going to make me cry. And I'm not even a crier.
Go ahead, Jack.
I've been in so many years. That's one thing you can just cry. Yeah. It's one thing you can just cry.
fly.